The Detroit Lions were one of the most surprising teams in all of 2022, going from a 3-win team to a 9-win team in just one season, ending their year with a record of 9-8, and we all knew this team was only going to improve from here. They actually followed that up with having one of the best off seasons in the entire NFL. From signing a big fish free agent to bringing in some of the biggest names in the NFL draft, they have drastically improved this roster. Detroit has actually brought in 4 potential starters in free agency and another 3 potential day 1 starters in the NFL draft, as well as a ton of high potential players. Throughout the entirety of training camp and the preseason, this team has built some great chemistry, and everyone is starting to buy into the system going into the year. Although we haven't seen, or we saw the absolute bare minimum out of Jared Goff and the starting offense throughout these preseason games and throughout the entirety of training camp, that still shows the utmost confidence that the coaching staff actually has with this group of guys. With that being said, we're just 1 week away from the start of the NFL season, and the Lions have a huge task during week 1. They're taking on the defending champions in the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes next Thursday night. And in this video, I'll break down why I believe the Lions are one of the biggest dark horse teams in the entire NFL, but more importantly, why they have a chance to absolutely make some noise this season and potentially could even go on a playoff run with the roster they currently have, with a guy like Jared Goff and newly signed running backs David Montgomery, drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, you bring in Marvin Jones back to the team. I mean, this team is better. You also drafted Sam Laporta, still up Brock Wright. This team is really good. We already know they have one of the best offensive line, but I'm going to break down why this team can sneakily be one of the most underrated teams, but also be absolutely amazing throughout the entirety of the season. I think they're going to get better from last season. However, before we jump into the video, I need you guys to do me a huge favor real quick and smash the like button if you haven't already done so. Not only does it help out the channel so much, but it gets the video out to more Lions fans. So let's see if we can get the video up to 500 likes. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will be covering the Lions all offseason long, and I will be live streaming a ton of Lions games throughout the season. So if you want to come watch some of those games with me and just react to them, make sure you guys turn on post notifications so you're notified every time we go live for a Lions game or every time we post a video. Now, lastly, if you play fantasy football and hate being stressed about roster management, starting and sitting players, and picking people up from the waiver wire, you don't need to worry about that anymore on Underdog Fantasy. Link is in the description. Use my code. They'll double your first deposit, and if you want to join some leagues with me, go check it out right now. Comment down below that you want in, and I'll get you in. Now, like we said to start the video, the Lions were already one of the most underrated teams in the entire league, and it seems like they still are. Even though they did a great job improving this roster throughout the season, they're still a sleeping giant, and I think it's about time that everyone stops sleeping on the Detroit Lions. And when I say everybody, I don't mean Lions fans, I mean the media. They don't want to talk about the Lions at all. They don't think that they can win this division, but I'm sitting here saying they should be the favorite to win this division. Now, first off, the Lions actually had a top 5 offense last season and only got better. Not to mention, they already had one of the NFL's best offensive lines, but adding 2 brand new running backs in David Montgomery and rookie Jahmyr Gibbs was the top of their priority list this summer. These 2 guys will give them a deadly duo, and they also got younger and more hungry. Gibbs was clearly the second best running back in this draft, and the Lions, obviously valued his talent to the top of their list. He is one of the most versatile running backs that came into this draft and ended with the Detroit Lions. Now, he's both effective in the running game, but also in the passing game as well. With Jameson Williams suspended for the first couple of games of the season, look for Jahmyr Gibbs to get a ton of work, both in the running game, but more importantly in the passing game as well. He won't be a workhorse off the bat, obviously, with David Montgomery coming here, and in the era of football we're in right now, no team really wants to run their running back into the ground. They kind of want to use a 2-headed monster approach, and that's kind of what they're going to do here in Detroit. Both these running backs are very good, and both are capable of being a 3-down back in this league. I just don't think they're going to get it right off the bat. However, Jahmyr Gibbs will still be so productive throughout his time here in Detroit. Now, as we all know, the Lions' biggest need going into the draft was tight end and linebacker. They also need some depth at safety and defensive tackle. And let me tell you, the great news is they absolutely smashed the draft and got so much better in so many different places. The one thing I want to point out is the fact that the Lions defense was, pretty horrendous last year, and they knew going into free agency that they would have to address the entire defense going forward. And in free agency, they added a ton of talent and pretty much overhauled their entire secondary, adding C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, Cameron Sutton. And not only did they drastically improve the secondary, but with the second pick of their draft, their second round pick, they decided to go out and take a linebacker, Jack Campbell, out of Iowa. Now, Jack Campbell fills a massive need at linebacker for the Lions, whose defense allowed 5.2 yards per carry last season, which was third worst in the NFL. The nation's top linebacker is on his way to Detroit to be a massive upgrade in that department. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, and was dominant at Iowa, finishing career with 300 tackles, and 143 of those came in 2021. Now, a couple of other big players that got in the draft included rookie Sam Laporta and safety Brian Branch. Both these guys have that dog mentality and fit this system right away. They're going to be massive, not only for this season, but for the future of this team. They're going to be huge contributors all year long. The Lions were also, so close to a playoff spot last season, and in my opinion, they've done everything to get over the hump for 2023. The Lions were one of the NFL's best offenses in terms of points per game, but needed to get better defensively, and that's exactly what they did. The media hates to give the Lions credit, and there are still some people out there who don't think the Lions should be favorites to at least win the division, and I personally think that's a huge mistake. Not only do I think the Lions, take the division, but I believe they absolutely shock the world with the way they come together as a team, fight through some adversity, and just beat some of the toughest teams in the NFL, including Week 1 when they take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they have what it takes to make a run. Now, obviously, offensively, they have a great offense. They looked really good last year. Defensively is where they needed to improve, and they did that. Broderick Martin looks pretty good as a rookie third-round pick. Obviously, you still got Aiden Hutchinson, John Comiskey's trying to continue to get better. You still have Aleem McNeil, Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes. James Houston is someone who they really had breakout last season. We don't know how or if he's going to be the day one starter. You also have Charles Harris, and then the DB room looks really, really impressive. I think it's one of my favorite groups for them. Obviously, Emmanuel Mosley, Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker, and then you got Cameron Sutton, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch. And then from there, Stephen Gilmore has been a guy who has really started to broke out during the preseason and during training camp. Looked really, really good. So I expect him to only continue to get better from here. But this team looks good, man. As of right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rookies made the team. 8 rookies are on the roster, including Antoine Green, Colby Sorsdale, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Broderick Martin, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, and Stephen Gilmore all made this roster, which tells me one thing. They did a good job drafting. They did a really good job, finding talent in this draft, and, they have 2 potential 3, maybe even 4 potential rookie starters in terms of, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then maybe even Brian Branch as well. And Broderick Martin could be getting in there as well. So hit that like button, guys. Subscribe if you're new, join the family, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Today's video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, and if you love playing fantasy sports like football, basketball, baseball, and so many other sports, but also love being able to win money, you're going to want to stick around for this whole segment. Introducing Underdog Fantasy, the ultimate platform for fantasy sports lovers. Do you want to experience the thrill of drafting your team and competing for huge prizes? Well, look no further. With Underdog Fantasy, you get access to a wide range of fantasy sports, including football, basketball, baseball, and so much more. But here's what makes Underdog Fantasy stand out from all of those other apps. They've got quick and user-friendly drafting process, a unique and exciting game formats, fair and competitive contests for all skill levels, and attractive bonuses and promotions. Not only can you draft teams and compete with others, but you can also play a game of higher and lower, which is personally my favorite thing to do on there, but you can potentially win 20 times the money you put down. And if you use code MattyDubs when you sign up, Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. And what that means is basically when you deposit, let's say $100, they'll give you a free $100 to use and play with. Click the link in the description to get started, or head to the website right now to start dominating the fantasy world. And don't miss out on all the fun. Be a part of the Underdog community starting now. And don't forget, if you use code MattyDubs, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Let's get started. Get into drafts with me starting today.